Hey everybody, this is Diane. Welcome to another episode of Biters.
And this is Marnell. And remember to sniff before you bite.
I was just going to say something really stupid like I'm having a tasty cup of Lapsang Souchong tonight because I couldn't remember any of the quotes from the episode.
Oh, I absolutely love that when Strand said that. That made me laugh out loud.
So, we are here discussing Fear the Walking Dead season 4 episode 4 called Buried.
Yes.
And your
Um,
rating?
Not, of course, as good as and shocking as last episode, but for kind of a middle book episode, there was a lot here and a lot that was necessary and sets us up for, I think, the rest of the season. So I liked it.
So what'd you give it?
I gave it a 3.8 cattle feed pancake.
So I didn't think I liked it that much. I mean, I liked it well enough, and I gave it a 4.27 out of 5 churros. So,
Ah, I almost went with churros.
yeah, the churro sounds really good right about now.
They sell them at Costco. Like, you can get them at where you get like hot dogs and stuff at
Okay,
Costco.
that's
So,
like 15 minutes for you. That's like an hour and a half for me.
yeah, but they were making it sound like the water park and carnivals were like the only places you could get churros.
Maybe that's
I'm like,
true in Texas.
I highly doubt it. Yeah. Besides,
So,
empanadas are much better.
oh, that sounds really good. All right, Thomas O'Mara sent me a rating 4.65 Walker Slide. I'm sorry, I totally blew it, Thomas. Let me try it again. 4.65 out of 5 Walker Water Slides. So he really
Yeah,
liked it.
that's funny.
Yeah, which is
Yeah.
really funny. I think he's really on board this season.
Yeah, and I mean, I thought he was one of those that like was never gonna watch it again.
Pretty much, yeah. But I mean, I've said that I was hate watching it for the last 3 seasons, and now I'm like, it's Sunday. Fear the Walking Dead is on.
I know. I was just doing my rewatch right before we started, and I am like glued to the screen. I can't take my eyes off it. I'm writing down every little detail that I can find. I'm riveted this season. So kudos to the new showrunners, the
Right,
new
the new
writers, the new
team.
directors. Basically, they cleaned house behind the scenes, and I think they're gonna be cleaning house in front of the screen. So,
I think so too. I mean, I think they actually already have, and we just are seeing the ramifications now, and we'll get the story later.
uh-huh. We'll chat about that.
We will. So I have some numbers. This is going back to Good Out Here, which I'd had some preliminary numbers for when we talked last week because we podcasted kind of late.
Hmm.
In Live Plus Same Day, it was 16th in the 18 to 49 group. It did not make the top 25 overall for Live Plus Same Day, but it had really good numbers in Live Plus 3. So I think it just goes to what we've been talking about, which is that people's patterns of watching are very different.
Yes.
And not everybody is sitting down for the Sunday night Biter Fest like you and I do, or like I do. You would if you got it in time. But
But I mean, they're got good numbers within 3 days, so people are kind of excited. They're just not like Sunday night excited.
oh yeah, no, and I think it's a testimony to how we watch TV now. I mean,
Right.
I think it really is that shifting pattern of I can record it with my DVR and I'll watch it when I'm ready.
Right, but it's not languishing on people's DVRs. They
Right.
actually are watching it.
Exactly. So the numbers in Live Plus 3, it was 7th in the 18 to 49 group. It was 1.5 million viewers, which is a 50% ad from the day of. And then
Nice.
it was 5th overall for Live Plus 3, 3.895 million viewers, which was a 44% ad from same day.
Very cool.
So they basically doubled their numbers in Live Plus 3. And those numbers, that 3.895, that's starting to push up against some of the numbers that we've been seeing for the real series, for the Prime series.
Right. Right.
I don't know that we'll ever see numbers as high for this series. I don't see that. Hopefully, we'll never see numbers this low for the primary series again. But they're really starting to push and maintain some decent numbers.
Yeah, and there's been pretty much nothing but positive feedback this season.
I agree. I mean, I haven't really seen anything negative, but I'm not actively seeking it either. So that might be part of the story.
You know, the only thing that I have seen negative is the continuation of Madison being on the show, which we will talk about that later.
You can't count what Thomas and Brian say.
No, it's not just that. It's not just that. I've seen, 5 reasons why they need to kill off Madison and Rick. Like basically the main people. Yeah.
I don't like the addition of Rick to that. That's not nice.
What's funny is I've been seeing the 23 reasons why they need to kill Rick off for like 3 years now.
That's not nice.
Keep dreaming, folks.
I don't like that. Well, so, title, Buried. I actually thought it was more than just like the buried cache of weapons or burying Nick.
Okay.
I just felt like there were lots of secrets. So I think that a lot of secrets were buried deep inside of people, like everyone having an escape plan.
Yeah.
And everyone having a desire to escape. And Strand actually going so far as having a packed rig ready for escape.
Yeah.
Which I was so disappointed in Strand. I mean, he has not changed a bit.
He is the reluctant good guy. He really doesn't want to be the good guy, but there's a reason why he carries around that little pebble of from the
concrete. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He needs to be reminded why he needs to be the good guy. But, seems like it's not really working out for him.
Yeah, it's not really helping him.
I was just discussing today that I could totally see him. I said I could totally see him becoming the governor, and we worked it out that not really the governor, but the person who ran the stadium, not the stadium, the market from last season.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I could totally see him like being one of those people who is like, basically nothing happens under my watch unless I benefit from it. Kind of being a little cartelish, not inherently evil, just really self-interested and narcissistic. I could totally see him becoming not really a bad guy, but definitely not a good guy.
Which is kind of who he is already.
He is, but there is something in him that keeps fighting back and keeping him doing seemingly the right thing, coming back with all the supplies and everything. So we will see if that maintains.
I mean,
if he, starts to become the moral compass, he's dead.
Then Strand will never die.
No, it's Morgan who never dies. I don't think that's transferable.
I don't think Morgan is going to be a moral compass anytime soon either. I think Morgan is too messed up to be a moral compass.
Yep. And it keeps getting worse for him.
It really does. So that was my other thing about the title. Why was Morgan so obsessed about making sure that Nick got properly buried?
He developed kind of a relationship with Nick.
We
talked last episode that I really think Nick's storyline wasn't over and that he could have benefited from Morgan's tutelage. I really saw the buddy cop, comedy in those two, coming out. And I just think it ended before its time. And so I'm really disappointed in that, even though I love that they surprised us all by killing Nick off so early. Uh, but yeah, I really think that he developed a kind of a relationship with Morgan.
Hmm. I mean, I think so too, and I know that we had that conversation. I'm just flashing back to Lenny James saying that, Morgan was basically letting Nick go, which
Yeah,
I didn't agree with. I mean, I didn't feel like that was it at all. I felt like Morgan wanted to save Nick.
he did, but he couldn't.
But I don't think he saw that. I mean, in terms of, um, Morgan was basically saying when he was talking to him about the book and not having to kill and that kind of thing, that it was his way of kind of letting that character go. But I didn't feel that way at all. I felt like it was basically him trying to save that character, and I don't really feel like he recognized that he couldn't. Am I making any sense?
Not really. I will be completely honest. I think we are not on the same page on this one.
Probably not. It sounds like we're not.
No.
Anyway, that's all I had for the title. I thought that there was more buried than just a cache of guns, and I thought that it was really interesting that Morgan was so obsessed with making sure that Nick was buried.
And I think you're right that they all sort of buried their intuition on leaving the stadium. And that I they keep saying it, turned out to be that's why Nick is dead, that's why my friend is dead. It was the wrong decision. And honestly, who's to say? I mean, if Nick and Lucy had convinced everyone to leave, would they be any better off? Would everyone have lived? We don't know. If Strand had driven off with or without Cole and his stash of goodies, would they have, met a happy ending? Maybe not. I don't think everyone just sees their mistakes. They don't see that, it could have ended badly with, if they'd had headed down the other road.
Well, and I thought the thing that was so interesting about this episode, it was the point of at least part of the episode. I mean, the writer was trying to make us see it, but it really was how each of those little decisions that we make are meaningful. I mean, you and I had talked a million times about how things in this show aren't throwaway, and the point of this episode was each of those little decisions we make are not throwaway decisions.
And there was a Walking Dead Prime episode that was like that, where everybody decided to go off script and how that affected everyone else and their storyline as a whole. And what if they had kept on the script? Would things have been different? So it's always about, it's about taking a left instead of a right, or saying yes instead of no.
Mm-hmm.
And you just never know what could have happened if, you had taken a different path. And yeah.
So moving into our writer, then, it was a young lady named Alex Delisle. She's only got 2 writing credits. She has this, Fear the Walking Dead, and then a short film called Puppy Dreams, which I didn't look to see what it was because it could either be really sweet or really frightening. And I'll just leave it there. So she's actually been a staff writer for all of the episodes this season, but was the lead writer on this. This was her first episode where she was the lead writer.
I saw that. And, I did have a comment about the writing that I was talking about today, that I really liked some of the lines, and I don't know if they're directly attributed to her, but like when Al asked Alicia, when did you sharpen, the barrel of the gun?
Yeah.
Yeah, she was like, that came later.
Yeah.
And I like the way that was phrased. I liked some of the writing in this episode. So kudos to her if that was directly attributed.
Well, you know, even if it's not directly attributed as the lead writer, she's the one who's like putting it all together. So kudos to her.
Right.
So our director was a guy named Magnus Martins, who was born in Stord, Norway, which I thought was really cool. And I thought, wow, The Walking Dead really is international.
It is.
I mean, we have people from Australia, we have people from New Zealand, we have people from Africa because Denai Guerrera is from Africa. We've got people from Scandinavia, we've got people from Britain. I mean, we really do have we've got people from South American countries, or at least Central American countries. It's really pretty cool.
Yeah.
So kudos to The Walking Dead for that, and welcome Magnus Martins.
And the guy that plays Nick,
Frank Delane.
Yes, thank you. That was actually one of his big things. He tried very hard. He worked with a dialect coach and tried to get the American accent just right. And you know, you would never know that none of these people were American.
Right. I actually feel like all of the actors do a really good job.
Yeah. Every time I like hear one of them on an interview, it throws me every single time. I mean, Lenny James, how many times have we seen interviews with him now? And it's so foreign to hear a foreign accent out of him.
So Magnus, this is his first credit in the Walking Dead universe. He has a whole bunch of director's credits, including credits in the Marvel universe, which you and I are rapidly becoming a part of. Luke Cage and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And then he was... I just picked out a couple of other things that I recognized. He directed part of the 12 Monkeys series based on the movie, and he directed some episodes of Will, which is a series about Shakespeare that's supposed to be quite good.
Huh.
So, interesting fellow, quite a bit. I suspect we'll probably see more out of him.
Definitely.
So you picked our featured cast this week.
Yes. So our featured cast member is Jenna Elfman, who plays Naomi, and
or should we call her Laura?
Laura, yes. And I am absolutely kicking myself. I tried to find where I might have said it on the podcast, and I don't think that I did. But I did wonder aloud at some point if Naomi and Laura were the same person, and it turns out I was right.
Oh, that's pretty cool. I don't remember you saying that either, so you might have wondered aloud to your significant other, but...
Yes, I'm kicking myself for not putting that out there on the podcast. I will fully admit when I don't have an original thought, but I think that was an original thought. I don't want to...
I feel like I don't have them very often, so it's always exciting when I do have one.
Right. But I also wondered aloud if the Laura that JD was talking about was not the Laura from The Saviors. But that was kind of
right. I do remember that.
Yeah, that was a very out there theory. But yeah. So Naomi/Laura now, which it looks like next episode we are getting their backstory.
Which is, I'm excited about that. I think it'll be really good. I think it's going to be really sad.
I was going to say, I'm actually not excited. Like it looks like a really slow episode. Yeah.
I guess it's just the romantic in me.
Yeah. As we've well established now, I'm dead inside. So.
So who was it on The Talking Dead? Oh, I think it was Maggie Grace, who was like, lots of wild zombie sex or something like that.
She was great on The Talking Dead.
She was really great.
So Jenna Elfman and her husband, Bodhi, have been married for 23 years.
25, according to the podcast episode that I briefly looked at.
Well, they've been together for 27. And there was something online also that said they've been married for 26. So, but regardless, 20 plus years married.
Hey, now, some of us manage that.
that's just almost unheard of in this day and age.
It's going to be
She was on.
26 this year for us.
Wow.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I loved, I think it was Andy Richter. Richter, is that how you say his name?
I
On
think
the
so.
Conan O'Brien show, he's like, because he's been married to his wife for 20 plus years, and he's like, at this point, I think it's just apathy.
Well, there is a certain degree of, I really don't want to go out and do that again.
Yeah,
So...
like, I just can't start over at this point.
Right.
Like,
Who
like
else would tolerate me and my giant horse?
Like leaving the stadium. You mean I have to start over?
Right.
No, we've gone too far. But they actually run a pretty successful and, from what I hear, a very funny podcast called Kicking and Screaming.
I have to tell you, I nipped into just a little bit of it today when I was doing my prep for this episode. And the bits that I heard, there's like a 30-minute bit on YouTube where they take a little portion of each podcast and kind of highlight, okay, this is how they talk about their sex life, and this is how they talk about their friends. And oh my God, it was so funny. I actually subscribed to the podcast just because that made me laugh so hard. I thought, this will be a podcast that's worth listening to.
Yeah, and so this they say that it's raw, it's unedited, and not safe for work. They talk about everything.
Right. Jenna Elfman says the F-bomb, and it's so funny hearing her adorable little voice say the F word. I love it.
And they not only they put out an audio podcast, but they also put out a video one. And I did see a little bit where they had their two kids with them on the podcast.
Oh, cool. So that must have been the cleaned up version.
Yeah, every once in a while, I think they probably do a family-friendly one. But it's interesting with their kids. So they've been married, what I could find, since 1995, but they didn't have their first child until 2007. So I just find that very unusual, and I couldn't find out why.
It's called birth control.
Some
people practice it.
That is some serious family planning right there.
Good for them.
Yeah. So their kids are 11 and 8. And it's so funny to me that, they waited so long to have children, but it looks like they've had quite an amazing life. Bodhi is also an actor, although strangely enough, not as successful as Jenna Elfman. She seems to kind of be the one mostly in front of the camera, at least.
The thing that really struck me was that even though I have not followed her career since Dharma and Greg, and I have to admit, there was a time where we were pretty religious about making sure we watched Dharma and Greg.
I love Dharma and Greg.
Yeah, it was a great show.
Yeah.
She has had very steady work. I mean, when I looked at her IMDb page, I thought, wow, she's done a lot since Dharma and Greg, even though I haven't watched it.
Okay, so steady, but kind of unsuccessful. One of the things that was pointed out was all of the series that she's been on since Dharma and Greg have only lasted a season.
Well, I think, you kind of get typecast.
And that's exactly what they said, is she could never break out of that Dharma role. And they talked about the video that I watched was actually a Nikki Swift video. And Nikki Swift is kind of like almost a where are they now gossipy kind of, why this you haven't seen, the guy that, James Vanderbeek from Dawson Creek, like where are they now? But they said that she kind of became a bad investment because she kept getting typecast so much as the Dharma kind of character that in order for her to be successful in anything, she was going to have to really break out of that role. And I really think she's doing that.
I was going to say, here's hoping that this is it for her.
Yeah.
Because she's really a great actress. I really like her a lot.
She is. And anything that I have seen her in, I have liked. her in, but I admit that I haven't watched any of the um, series that she's been in since Dharma and Greg.
Well, and I'm going to be really honest and say I looked through her list of credits and there was very little that I recognized, which I just attribute to, again, I didn't follow her after Dharma and Greg ended.
Right, right. I was reminded of one of my favorite roles that she was in, and it was in a movie called Can't Hardly Wait. And it was kind of a coming of age, kids graduating from high school, end of year party kind of thing. And she has just this bit part in the movie where she plays this exotic dancer.
Oh God, how funny.
And she's dressed like an angel, and she's super bitter and super mean. And it was just, I mean, she probably had like a dozen lines, but she was so funny in it. She nailed it for me. And so there are when you say Jenna Elfman to me, there are two things I think. I think Dharma and Greg, and I think Stripper Angel.
Well, now there should be three things.
Yes, Fear the Walking Dead.
Stripper Angel, Fear the Walking Dead, and Dharma and Greg. I particularly like Stripper Angel.
She has something on her Instagram about it. I'll have to send you. It's kind of funny.
That is really funny.
Her Twitter and her Instagram, she seems to be very self-promoting, which I'm not saying that to knock her at all. Her and her husband have a very successful podcast, and so I think I would probably, if I advertise that too, if I were in the acting biz. But she's also a big part of the Dizzy Feet Foundation.
What's that?
So, Jenna Elfman was a classically trained ballerina.
Oh, interesting, because so her quotes, I don't know if you read any of her quotes on IMDb, but one of them is about loving dancing.
Yes.
And several of them are about loving comedy acting. That was really her thing.
She's still very into acting. I forget she had 2 injuries that knocked her out of her basically her professional dance career. She had I think a tendon tore away from the bone, which stopped her from doing ballet.
Ow.
And then at 16, I think she broke her ankle or something, and that but she's still very involved. So the Dizzy Feet Foundation educates the public for the benefits in the art of dance. It expands access to dance education and develops a new generation of dance enthusiasts. It impacts communities and improves lives through the power of dance by working with organization partners to influencers across the country, supporting programs in schools, after-school programs, social service agencies, homeless shelters, and juvenile detention centers, unifying communities through the art of dance.
That is really cool.
Yeah, so she's a big believer in the healing power of dance. So you can check that out at dizzyfeetfoundation.org. She is a member of their board, and she's got a lot of funny videos out there where she's an amazing dancer, not just in ballet, but I'm just one of those people that when I get on the dance floor, I kind of look like a frog on a hot plate. So I have zero rhythm. Yeah, so I'm very jealous of her dance skills. So the last thing that I will say about Jenna Elfman is, I'm sorry we make fun of Scientology on our other podcast all the time.
Well, because she is a Scientologist, which is a little creepy.
Yes, her and her brother, I think her brother Danny Elfman.
No. Danny Elfman is her uncle by marriage.
That's right. It's Bodhi's uncle.
Danny's not a Scientologist.
Yes, he is.
No way.
Yep.
Oh my God. I totally don't believe that. I'm going to have to Google that.
Yep. So the family's big into Scientology, and it seems to work for them. So good for them. Whatever works.
Hail Xenu.
Oh, so yeah, that is Jenna Elfman in a nutshell.
Well, the only other thing that I want to add is this was one of my favorite albums back in the day, Chris Isaak's album Forever Blue. And she was in the video for Somebody's Crying.
Oh, wow. How did you dig that up?
Totally an IMDb find.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, I'm not that cool.
I try not to pay too much attention to IMDb. Like I said last time with Frank that he was a hard one to nail down because he's just very quiet and avoids the media.
Well,
But
IMDb is a pretty good source of quick and dirty information.
it is. It does have, there is a lot on there, but I figure most people will go to IMDb. I try to watch the YouTube video interviews, and Jenna Elfman actually has her own webpage.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, where she promotes a lot of her work.
Well, you got the deep dive about Dizzy Feet. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So anything for Whisperer's Corner?
I do. It just came up.
So the only thing I had, I mean, one of the things that I had, which it sounds like it's actually something that we're going to talk about more in the body of the podcast, so I'm going to leave it. I think you know what that is.
Uh-huh.
But while I was researching, I was looking for like fan theories for season 4 of Fear.
Mm-hmm.
There's actually a fan theory out there. I'm a little disgusted that Charlie is a younger Enid. And I was like, people,
no.
timeline?
Yeah.
Timeline!
Yeah, no.
She and Enid are in the same time zone, in the same timeline, and they are not the same person. Timeline.
No, not at all. That's weird.
So that's my little contribution to Whisperer's Corner.
Very few times will I tell anybody they're wrong, but they're wrong.
I agree. I thought that was one of the worst fan theories I've heard.
Yeah, no.
Which, by the way, if you want some good fan theories that are spoilers for Marvel Avengers Infinity War, the episode of Caves and Lunatics that came out today had some really good theories on it.
Ooh, good.
Yeah.
Good. Nothing's a spoiler now. I mean, if you've managed to avoid headlines, it means you're either a zombie or you have no internet. I had a hard time avoiding spoilers for after the Thursday night, midnight premiere. Like Friday morning, I was avoiding spoilers all Friday, all Saturday until I watched Avengers. I'm just like, could you not put spoilers in the headline at least?
I guess because I'm so isolated and I really choose what I see, I didn't have any spoilers.
Yeah, I look at everything. I read all the newspapers. Everything.
All the news.
All the news.
Anything that crosses your desk.
Yep. Any of them, all of them.
All right, you said you had something for Spoilers Corner, or Whisperer's Corner, Spoilers Corner.
That could be a thing. We could be like, you need to skip ahead 2 minutes if you don't want spoilers. But no, this is Whisperer's Corner. So it was posted about 7 hours ago that Walking Dead Prime, 2 of our cast members are now going to be series regulars.
Oh, yeah? Who's that?
Avi Nash, who plays
good.
Sadiq.
Very
and
good.
Callan McAuliffe, who plays Alden.
Oh, yay!
Yeah, so Maggie's maybe possibly love interest.
Yeah, I'm not convinced he's not.
Right? So they have been picked up as series regulars.
Excellent.
So,
good.
Yeah,
I like both of those actors and I like what they've brought to the show.
Ditto. I fully agree with that. However, I did hear, this is nothing solid, but I was seeing some stuff because they released the pictures for the filming of season 9.
Sure, some stills. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I've heard some scuttlebutt about some people pointing out that there is a timeline jump there also.
Well, there is in the comic book.
Okay.
So they may be doing the same time jump.
Yeah.
And it's quite a large time jump.
Huh. Like Maggie has a baby time jump?
Potentially even bigger. So yes.
Wow. Good. That'll be interesting.
Although it could very easily be Maggie toting around Grace.
Hmm. That's true. But thankfully Cohen Watch 2018 is off and she's signed.
We think
Who knows?
anyway, right?
Right. We don't know exactly what she signed on to. I mean, she could be in like 3 episodes, but who knows? We'll have to wait and see. So that's all I had for Whisperers Corner.
Excellent. I didn't have much for it beyond the big spoilery stuff that I was going to mention. So
Hmm.
I
Okay.
guess that means we go into our good, bad, and ugly.
Yes.
So, you want to go or you want me to go?
Go right ahead.
So, my good was totally self-serving. It is National Nurses Day, and I was happy that Naomi was an ICU nurse. So, that's my good. That I like that they gave her a purpose. I think that I can really definitely see that in her character. But I did disagree with her. I've seen enough. I know when somebody's going to make it and when somebody isn't. Because sometimes you just don't know.
No, did you? There was an article today where these parents had their kid had been in a coma forever and a day, and they signed off on donating the kid's organs, and like within like a day, the kid woke up from the coma.
Ooh, that's kind of scary.
Yeah, nobody's gone until they're gone.
All right, Madison.
See how I brought that back around?
That was well done. That was very well done.
I did not plan that. It was totally on the fly.
Wow. I'm impressed. I'm impressed with your mad podcasting skills. I take total credit for finding a diamond in the rough.
Who knew? Now, if I just got some better equipment, I do have to apologize for our very poppy podcast last time. Like, I went back and listened so that I could figure out if I had spoken aloud the Naomi Laura connection. And our podcast was really staticky and poppy last time. So.
The audio sounds better tonight. Have you
Okay,
done something
good.
different or?
No. I think we just had a really bad connection last time.
I really do think that the microphone fairy needs to visit you.
Yeah. I kind of want to get some like headphones that don't go over my ears too.
The birthday fairy and the microphone fairy can have a conversation.
We'll see. I can buy my own equipment. You have colicky horses to feed.
Oh dear God, that was really frightening. So speaking of ICU nurses, I played an equine ICU nurse about half a week ago. Last Thursday night, my very large horse decided that he was going to colic, and even a mild colic, which thank God his was, can be fatal if a horse rolls because they can twist their gut.
Yep.
And God bless the vet. She came out at 10 o'clock at night on a Thursday night. And she said, I wouldn't do this for everybody. And I was like, I know. It was like a miracle drug when she treated him. But then we got to stay up with him all night and make sure that he remained
Upright.
So I literally was out in my down coat and long johns and my flannel lined jeans sitting in a camp chair watching my horse all night long. We would take shifts, but the person who came in basically came in, got warm, couldn't sleep because they were worried. It was pretty intense. Yes.
Yeah. Normally your patient's a stranger, and when you have one that you care about, it's got to be tough.
Well, and when they're that big, they do small things really big.
Oh,
so
well, we're glad he's okay.
Yes, I am too. He's doing wonderfully.
Good.
All right, now that I've had my little segue about being very fond that Naomi is a nurse and talking about my horse, which, I mean, I could talk about my horse all night. What's your good?
So my good is, me and Alicia. I love when she has a partner in crime, and even if it's Naomi who's trying to run away, I really love to see, Alicia and somebody else go off and do their thing. I could really just watch the Alicia show.
They would be an awesome buddy cop movie.
They would. I miss the other chick, Diana. I think that was her name.
Yep, that was
I
her name.
miss her. I would like I'm curious. I was thinking about her last podcast, and I really would like to know what happened to her after.
I wonder if we'll get that backstory.
I know, right? So
Because we've got to kind of get the story of how our group came from Mexico to Texas.
We have to. So we're getting the 1 year into the stadium falling under the vultures and current. You were getting everything in there, but what happened in the year after they in the year that they were in the stadium and before that? How did they get to the stadium?
Right.
And there's been this whole talk of, well, Madison found everybody because she's a dang superhero, but apparently she only found the good guys. And what happened to everybody else, and what happened to
We've still got Taka out there, and who was with
Right.
Taka? I don't remember, but I think it was one of his soldiers.
Yeah. So there's really a lot that kind of was left hanging out there, and I know we've been saying for 2.5 seasons that they just need to clean sweep and
And there
start
are
over
times
with a
when
new
people
cast.
just disappear.
Right, but and we took that time jump, and the show's been amazing ever since. But I really, even if they just sit around a campfire and be like, oh yeah, that guy Taco, yeah, I would really love to know what happened to Diana, because I thought her and Alicia were great together. I think her and Naomi are great together, and so when Strand and Cole were in the greenhouse,
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was super interesting that both of them kind of seemed like newbies to the apocalypse, because neither of them seemed to know how to handle 5 walkers. I mean, Cole didn't even have a knife out. He had to grab a pair of pruning shears.
Well, Cole spent all of his time at A&M.
Smoking the plant. So it was just, they were stumbling backwards, and they had a hard time, with these. And when you get to Alicia and Naomi, they were like totally ready. They like just walked up and stabbed him in the head, and they just had their stuff handled. So
Yeah, they were pretty efficient.
yeah, I really, really like seeing that, because I think that 2 years into the apocalypse, that's how you would be. It would be like, oh, there's a couple of walkers, like stab them in the head and we move on. Not this like whole we stumble backwards and they fall on us and we're just about to get bitten and somebody else comes and saves us. I thought it was interesting how the 2 guys were very unprepared, and the 2 girls were just like, moving on. But yeah, and like the 2 of them scoped out their area and just were very methodical about what they were doing, and they seem to be very proficient in the apocalypse, and I really like seeing that in a couple of chicks.
Well, maybe Strand and Cole were just distracted by the sexual tension.
There is that too. I do have a little bit of a rant later about the Alicia and Naomi show.
All right.
And it's the rant that I always have about everything, because we should have learned our lessons by now. But for the time being, I love the Alicia show.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So what was your bad?
Why don't you go ahead with your bad? I lost my bad.
Well, I didn't have much of one, which is kind of funny considering that I was like, I just was kind of, I won't say meh about this episode, but I didn't like it as well as I've liked the last 3. But I thought the pacing was a little bit off. I felt like we spent a lot of time rumbling along in the SWAT van. And even when there was action going on, even when we were getting the story, for me, there was that undercurrent of, and we're rumbling around in the SWAT van.
Yeah, it did kind of cut from there. There was a time where I was like, okay, enough with the we tell like 5 minutes of everyone's story and then we reset and 5 minutes of everyone's story. Yeah, there was a little bit too much of that for the episode. Like I said, middle book episode, but
But
there
on
was
the
a
flip
lot to cover.
side, I will say that I liked the way that they used the stories to kind of be the exposition for the overall story.
Right.
So I'm being picky.
Well, you could say that my bad was also very picky too. Um, and this kind of goes towards we're 2 years in, we should kind of know what we're doing. Again, with Strand and Cole in the greenhouse, and a little bit with Alicia and Naomi, there was so many supplies around. I think I even may have said it when they were getting the tow truck. Like, I would be draining the fluids from all the vehicles, not just the gas, but like the oil and the coolant and, brake fluid and things like that. I would be gathering everything. I would be a total hoarder in the apocalypse because in that greenhouse, there was some amazing netting. There was a bunch of hoses. There was heavy plastic sheeting, and not to mention all of the pots that they had and soil that they had there. I would just be, taking large moving trucks out and bringing back just stuff because all of that is eventually going to come in handy whether you utilize it yourself or you trade it to somebody else who needs it.
So in fairness, I would say these are small recon groups, and they need to mark these places as places that they're going to go back to. Granted, with the vultures hanging out, they need to do that quickly. But I just don't feel like our groups were able to really do that degree of retrieval just with small two people per recon group.
And I do realize that they were limited on time, but if you're looking through the greenhouse and you're really not finding anything else, I grab some hoses, grab some plastic, grab some netting,
But it looks like they actually went away with quite a number of succulent plants.
which I actually didn't know that succulents were edible.
Well,
And
succulent is tasty.
well, apparently they're very bitter, and you're only supposed to eat them in moderation because they can cause stomach upset. I
Right,
did
but
look them up.
the word succulent, though, I mean, it implies edible.
Implies, yeah.
It doesn't. It should imply good too, and it obviously doesn't, but it implies edible.
I had no idea. And he said he was talking about nothing with spines, nothing purple, and nothing black. And I'm like, well, there's cactus that you can eat. I mean, there's a lot of spiny fruits and vegetables out there. And eggplant are purple. Like, I don't know where he's getting his information.
I
You know?
I don't either. Strand is not someone I would count on for herbology, so
Yeah, he owned a yacht. I don't know if you can own a yacht and be like super knowledgeable in, the plants you can eat in Texas.
right.
So that was my bad and again with that Naomi and Alicia, there was a lot of things that I could kind of see in the background that I was like, I'd be picking that up. I'd be taking that. There was just a ton of good stuff. And especially with apparently vehicles lying around that you can just start up 2 years into the apocalypse. Another
Absolutely.
rant that, like you take one vehicle out and you bring two back, load it up with stuff and just grab. Because that seems like what the vultures did. The town that they found Naomi in was cleaned out, everything including the light bulbs. So everything is useful.
So it makes me wonder if they needed to rethink how they split up their teams, and maybe they needed to send larger teams to fewer places.
Yeah, that would get it done.
But it's easy for me to second guess that. I don't know. It's Madison planning. Madison's the one who directed everything. So there you go.
Yeah. Don't get me started on Madison.
Oh, I am going to get you started on Madison. So what's your ugly?
Um, so my ugly was Strand's little cache of food and goodies.
The fact that he's still a scuzzbag?
No, I I don't agree with his reasoning, but I agree with not keeping all of your eggs in one basket.
Oh.
I know, like it seems not right, but and he did it, like I said, he did it for the wrong reasons. He cached a bunch of stuff for his, what they kept calling an escape hatch, which I think was a very apt term. Uh, but I think that if I had built up a store of stuff, I don't think I would have kept it all in the stadium. I think I probably would have, created a perimeter of cached goods because you never know when saviors are going to invade or vultures are going to invade or apparently it was very well hidden, and I think that I probably would duplicate that in so that if we did get driven out, or maybe if somebody did decide I'm going to go off on my own and just steal all this, food in the pantry, that you would have a backup in multiple places.
So
I
do
just,
you... Oh, go ahead.
it's like computer stuff. Save your data.
Do you
Back
think
up your
their
data.
Do you think their cache of weapons happened because they got smart and started caching things, or do you think that happened after the fall of the diamond?
I think I want to say that happened after the fall of the diamond because I think it would have taken that for them to do that. But on the other hand, why cache them there? Why not keep them with you? I mean, they're actively going after the vultures. Other than, I guess, maybe they didn't know where the vultures were going to be next, and they found that out in this episode with the note found with Ennis. I guess cache your stuff so that it can't be stolen from you. And all of them knew where it was. So even if only, one or two of them survived, they could go back later and get it. So yeah, it's hard to say, but I like where your head's at.
That's good because we lost each other earlier.
Earlier, yeah. Yeah, we're back on the same page. Reading the same book.
Watching the same series.
In English.
So my ugly was the visuals in this season have been so good. And for me, the visual that really summed up this episode was that moment where you see John Dory and Naomi / Laura kind of tied together by unbundling the gun.
Yes.
That was such stark imagery, and it was so good, and it was such a shocker to have them reveal to John that supposedly Laura is dead.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm hoping that this is one of those, but places fall and people survive, and we don't always know.
Well, and the interesting thing about that is the first thing when Alicia said she didn't make it out of the diamond.
No, Lucy said she didn't make it. Alicia's the one who said she's dead.
She's dead. Okay, that's what it was.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of, it was at first she didn't make it out of the diamond, and then when he was like, "No, I don't believe it," I think that was sort of a I don't want to say plot device, but just a way to get him to stop focusing on finding Laura or Naomi and do what they're doing. That was a way to get him on their side, and that they're not even sure that she's, dead or alive.
Oh, that's a good one. I didn't think of it from that point.
Yeah, so just be like, she's dead, dude, give it up. But I really hope that she's not.
Me too.
Yeah, I'm really hoping that Lori/Naomi is alive, especially with the teaser trailers from the next episode. It looks like they really did have a cute little relationship going on, and he's been yearning for her.
Oh.
And of course, she seems to be very broken without him. So, yeah, I really hope that that was just she's dead, move on. Come with us to find the vultures.
Well, and because I would like to see Jenna Elfman really get a chance to play this character out, I'm really hoping that this is not her death warrant.
Yes. Yeah. I really hope she survives beyond the season. Because, of course, anyone who died in the past or who dies, like, we're still going to see a bunch of them like Nick. And maybe Madison.
Well, we might as well stumble into our writing potpourri and talk about that because Thomas O'Mara sent me a Facebook message and was like, Madison is so dead.
Oh, she's dead.
And he pointed out to Strand saying, that's why my friend is dead. He didn't say that's why Nick is dead. He said, that's why my friend is dead.
So was it Art that pointed out the hammer thing?
No, I think that might have been Thomas too, but I can get to Art's comment.
Okay, I thought it was Thomas, but luckily Thomas doesn't send me messages.
Right, he knows not to spoil you.
Yeah, in his time zone because I'm 4 hours behind and I still usually don't get to watch for another hour after that. So I think Thomas was the one that pointed out that Nick was using a hammer, which was Madison's tool.
Right. He did point that out.
Yeah, and so Nick and Alicia seem to be very, very driven in finding and killing the vultures. And I really think that that can only mean that it's retribution for killing their mom.
Yeah, I hate to say. Well, I don't hate to say it. I although I don't hate Madison the way that some people do. I think that is the big reveal of this season, and I hope that. I hope it's not a giant spoiler. I hope that it evolves naturally and it's not like, dun dun dun, Madison's dead, because I'm going to be bummed out that we figured this out this early on.
I can't be mad at them killing Madison because we've been yearning for it for 3 seasons.
Because you've been yearning for it for 3 seasons.
And again, Kim Dickens is a lovely person. We just do not like Madison as a character. And it's nothing about the actress herself. It was just a flaw in the character from the beginning, and it just got exasperated over 3 seasons. And it's time for the new cast to take over. And going back and listening to us last season, we kept saying reboot with an entirely new cast, and I'm like, okay, I think they're listening to us. So yeah, I think all signs point to Madison dying.
I think so too. So it's going to be really interesting to see how it all evolves. But I think I think that Strand, Alicia, Lucy, and Nick were the only survivors from the Diamond.
Yeah. And the really ironic thing is going to be if we are wrong and Madison is alive, that's going to be an amazing plot twist.
Right.
Like all signs for me are pointing to her death. And so if they manage to pull her out from under a dumpster somewhere,
if she's alive, it will be the dun 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 moment.
Exactly. And I, at this point, I'm like, you know what? She's probably leading the vultures now, and like turned against her kids, and that's why they're so like dead set on killing all the vultures.
Oh my God!
It's gonna be something absolutely off the wall crazy that or she's dead. So Yeah.
Whoa! Sorry. That would be Phil's soundboard.
Is that like the Ten Commandments or something?
I have no idea what that just was.
That was a very epic soundbite.
It scared the hell out of me.
Oh,
Leave it
man.
in. Leave it in. Well, did you have anything else in Writing Potpourri? I didn't have a lot of Writing Potpourri.
Okay, so the reason why I couldn't find my good, bad, and ugly is because I wrote so many notes, so strap in.
Oh boy. Okay. Hold on.
So my biggest thing is in Talking Dead, the episode before this one. The showrunners mentioned that the intro had kind of little plot things or little spoilers or all of the intros were different in some tiny little way.
I looked and I got nothing.
Really?
Really. So
Okay.
tell me, because I got nothing.
Okay. So episode 1 and the intro.
Oh, I
was
didn't go back and watch them. I'm talking about just this one.
Oh, no. Like, I went back and watched them all. They're only like 10 seconds. They're like a minute and a half in after the cold open, and they're like 10 seconds long.
I was babysitting a giant sick horse.
Like I said, I'm like hyper focused on these episodes now. Like, I'm loving this season. I'm riveted. Kudos to you guys. Good job. So the opening credits, which are shortened to like 10 seconds long, and I think that's great because I can't stand a super long intro. Walking Dead.
They're not going to
It's
listen to you, but good try.
Like a minute and a half. I'm like, okay, enough. We all love the music. We get it. Fast forward. So I went back and I watched all of them. So episode 1, which of course was the Morgan show, but it introduced us to John Dory.
Mm-hmm.
And it's always the same shot of kind of the deserty prairie with some power poles off to the left and what is most likely a road that runs through the background. So episode 1 had a lone cowboy standing in front of a fire at night.
Oh, did it really?
It did. And so, of course, that's John Dory.
Sure, that's cool.
Yeah. And so episode 2 is in the background, where I'm assuming there's a highway that crosses the background. There's a convoy of vehicles, like moving trucks and RVs and trucks.
Which is the Vultures.
The Vulture. Yeah. And episode 3...
It had the bluebonnets, right?
It had the bluebonnets.
Because they said that in talking.
Right. And so episode 2, the convoy looked, the scene was more deserty, and in episode 3, the bluebonnets was surrounded by green grass. Well, episode 4, this episode, you still had the green grass, the bluebonnets were gone, and it was replaced by what kind of looked like maybe a blood spot on the ground. So Nick's dead.
That was very subtle.
And it was very glitchy. Intentionally, like it was
I just thought that was my recording.
No, I think that was a call to Al telling the story, the story being told through her lens, and the filming, because you had a lot of POV camera work from Al.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that the glitchiness kind of was a call towards that, and then of course the bluebonnets were gone, replaced by a small like area of blood on the ground.
Well done.
Yeah, so keep watching the intros and you'll get a brief little nod to the entire episode.
Yeah,
and
I
will
totally watched and blew it, so
I will be keeping track of them this season, so I will try to include it in all of our Rotting Potpourris.
Very cool.
Yeah. So
I did like the reveal that John was a cop.
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of fun. He certainly doesn't seem He doesn't seem the part.
No, if he would have said like state trooper or sheriff or something, but not like a PD, a police department officer. You could have said Texas Ranger. I don't see him in a,
No,
a cop.
he just seems relatively simple.
Yeah. Yeah, slow, like an investigator, not like a beat cop, like, maybe he was on, some investigatory team.
I don't know. He seems too simple for that even.
He's methodical though.
Do ya? You think so?
Yeah. Yeah, and he's very driven, at least in finding
Laura.
Laura. Yeah.
Maybe we'll get more of his cop nature now that we're getting to know him better. I was very surprised by that reveal.
Yeah, it looks like next episode he opens up a lot. So I don't know if that will be told through flashback, through getting his story from Alicia or anything like that, but looks like most of the teaser trailers were focused on him and Naomi/Laura.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's going to be totally their story, which is fine. I think it'll be a good story.
I do too. It just won't be as exciting or interesting for me.
You don't know.
We'll have to see.
We're going to podcast next week and you're going to be like 5 Lauras out of 5.
I was wrong.
So what else you got?
Speaking of Al's point of view camera work, did you find her filming them stabbing Nick in the head, killing Walker Ennis, and then covering Nick with a coat very intrusive? Like,
No.
I wouldn't have filmed that. That's such a private moment that I can't. Oh, it kind of grossed me out, and it's like TMZ from a distance photo.
I feel like Maggie Grace really made a point of saying that Althea is really driven to document this, though, so I was actually okay with it.
Yeah, I'm okay with her asking the questions and pushing people, for their stories and things like that, but that was such, I don't know, that's like filming somebody deciding to pull the plug on a loved one. Like, it just rubbed me the wrong way a little.
And you say you're dead inside.
Yeah, I still have squicky feelings sometimes. I can feel squicky. So Phil and I talked about the numbers.
The numbers that the vultures are spray painting on their flags?
Yes.
Okay.
And our theory, and this has kind of been it was an original thought, but of course it's been all over since then, is we a lot of people, and I included and Phil included, seem to think it was how many walkers were contained in that area.
Mm-hmm. That's what we said when they did the trailer van.
Right. So there were 3 scenes in this episode where they had a giant flag with 431 spray painted on it. I know, right?
Yeah, I'm shocked into silence. I guess I didn't process that.
So I went back and looked at the other high number that we talked about. Maybe they're counting how many settlements they weighed out or whatever, but that was 457. And that was on those big oil tank thingies. So I am once again at a loss for what the numbers mean. Because 51, 12, I could totally see them saying that there was 457 walkers in those barrels or contained somewhere in that town. But 431 outside of the stadium at this point, I don't know where their numbers are coming from now.
It's not the number of days that it's taken for something to fall.
No.
Because that would be too long. That would be too far into the ZA, right?
Yeah, that would be more than a year. Maybe, that would be more than a year. So I went back and like I said, I've been very very hyperbolic in my viewing of the episodes, and in three distinct scenes, there was a flag on one of the convoy trucks that said 431. So I don't know what to do with that.
Is it the number of people that they've killed in taking down different sanctuaries, or?
But 457 in one and 431 here.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know what to do with that.
I don't either.
If anyone has any theories on why it's such a high number now, but why it's gone down from the other location, I would be totally interested in hearing. Yeah. So did Mel's story sound super familiar?
It totally sounded like the Otto farm.
Yeah, I thought that like it was going to be revealed that they were on the farm and like Madison's crew had just like never met them because there was like 1,000 people there.
Except he said it was just like 3 families, right?
Yeah, but that's kind of all that Otto's place started out as, is 3 or 4 families.
Well, and I think he was also talking about having been on a farm in Texas, though. I mean, he kind of made it sound like it was
a cattle ranch, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, until he said that the wildfires are what took him out, I was like, does he know Madison's backstories? Is he messing with her?
Right.
But of course, I think he was kind of messing with her because he said that he and Ennis convinced everyone to stay even though the wildfires were coming, and that's what got everyone killed, was convincing them to stay. And of course, that's what Madison's doing. She's convincing everyone to stay. So is he saying that you're traveling down the same path?
Oh, boy, you really did take some good notes.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I really think that, and I think I read something, or it was on the Talking Dead, where Mel really thinks, he is the villain that is the hero of his own story. He really thinks that he is doing Madison and crew a favor by pushing the stadium to fall early, because it's just gonna, they're just gonna keep trying to hang on, and it's gonna be worse off the longer they hang on. And if they get pushed out now, they're gonna realize, before it's too late, that it's not worth saving. And he really believes that, and he really wants to convince Madison of that, and he thinks it's for their own good. Like, he's doing them a favor by saying that. And I don't think so, because you're going to have to settle somewhere at some point. I mean, the gas is going to run out. The tires are going to go flat. You're going to have to settle somewhere. You're not going to be able to roam the earth forever. The supplies, are going to run. You're going to have to plant crops and raise cattle, and you're going to have to settle. So he's wrong, but he really, really thinks he's right.
Okay, so that brings up a question that I have, which is something that Maggie Grace brought up on Talking, and I had actually thought it and didn't voice it. Did Charlie plant the weevils?
Ooh.
I
don't know.
I think Charlie is the reason their crops failed.
There's a definite possibility there. I don't know how you plant weevils, but if you can.
Yeah, all you would have to do is smuggle a few in. They probably breed like crazy.
They do. Have you never had an outbreak of weevils in your house?
No, thank God, no.
Okay, so every once in a while, like if you buy a big thing of flour at Costco, it'll be contaminated with weevils. And if you don't keep it in its own sealed container, we have a big like Rubbermaid tub, or not a tub, but a giant like 4-gallon bin for, sugar and flour and rice and things like that out in our pantry. And if it is not contained in that, if it's just in the paper thing or the cardboard thing that it came in, they will chew their way out and they will contaminate your other goods. And they're awful. They're terrible to get rid of. They're like the aphids of the food.
So there you go. You answered my question. I think she
Yeah.
did it.
Yeah, that is a very good possibility.
So it was an original thought before Maggie Grace voiced it. I should have said it. Kind of like your Laura Naomi theory.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess I don't watch The Talking Dead quite as closely as I do the episodes. So I did not hear that. So that was completely new to me. Yeah.
I think that may be the story.
Yeah.
I'm sticking to it.
Oh, and okay, so it annoyed me how well groomed Mel was.
Like his hair.
Yeah, he's got quite the hipster haircut. I hate his shirt and his pants. But like his little pea coat thing with the emblem on it, like it didn't even have lint. So I'm just like, I'm like, that's unrealistic. Like, look how everyone like has worn jeans and Madison's faux Negan jacket is all dusty and everything, and they like have a stable life. Mel and Ennis were living out of this convoy, and apparently it has laundry service.
Well, part of their game though is to kind of rub in how good they have it, while the
Yeah,
people who are inside the diamond are gradually starting to see it fail.
it's all about appearances.
It is. It's totally about appearances.
Yep, yep. So my rant that I was going to get to from earlier about Alicia and Naomi was I was very complimentary, and I love that they know how to handle themselves around approaching walkers. They don't retreat. They move forward and just stab them and move on. But we're 2 years into this, and we are still letting zombies build up on the fence. And from Walking Dead Prime, we know that means like at the prison, the fences fail because you let zombies build up on the fence and eventually they break in. Or you pass them by and you're like, oh, they're behind us. Like they're not going to get us. It's fine. Well, eventually you have zombies coming at you from both sides. And when they were going through the water, I was like, there's maybe a dozen zombies there. You could stand at the edge of the pool, have them all come over, stab them in the head, and then you wouldn't have to rush through the water and try and climb up that slide. And, if they had fallen climbing up that main slide, they would have went right back down into the water, into the zombies. So just take a few minutes, stab everyone in the head, move on.
So I think you're finding some continuity errors. I mean, I think you're finding things that people really haven't thought through.
You don't think they would think
No, I don't mean the characters. I mean the writers.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I think you're really finding things because, part of me says that you can excuse that by saying that, well, they're on this recon mission where they have limited time and they're
Right.
trying to get through things as quickly as they can. But you're right. I mean, what would it have taken to kill off all of those zombies?
Yep, a dozen
5 minutes?
zombies in that pool. Yeah.
Maybe 5 minutes?
Yeah, and they should all be carrying a sharpened weapon with a longer reach, either a katana or a sharpened machete, or like Morgan carries a
Sharpened stick, yeah.
sharpened stick, yeah, and it could be something like that that's absolutely disposable. If you lost it like a knife at the bottom of a pool, it wouldn't be that big of a deal because you could just go make another one. But and it has a longer reach. You wouldn't even have to bend over to kill the zombies in the pool. So I don't think I would let and one less zombie is one less zombie to worry about. That's and one less zombie that could possibly take someone out in the future. And I kind of have a little bit of Siddiq in me that I'm like, maybe you're releasing their soul. So I can't stand it when they rush past some zombies and then it comes back to literally bite them in the end. Don't let them build up on the fence.
No pun intended.
Pun absolutely intended. Oh.
Well, my dear, we are at an hour and 20. So what else you got for me?
No, I think that was my last little bit. Yeah.
So I'm only laughing because I commented to you yet again. I don't have very many notes, so we're probably going to go forever.
Yeah, we absolutely do this. I think the episodes that are standout great episodes, like the one where they surprisingly killed Nick, I think they just speak for themselves. And these other ones that, just they kind of peter along still have a ton in them. So again, when we call it a middle book episode, it's not always an insult.
Well, you did a very good job of really diving deep into this episode. No water park pun intended.
I take my work very seriously.
You do. So I guess we do have a few comments before we close from other listeners. I did want to thank Dianne LaSorsa for buying a Biters t-shirt. Whoop whoop.
That's amazing. I didn't even know that was a thing. Like, I thought that was the reason why I didn't comment on it. I thought she had photoshopped it as a joke. We actually have Biters t-shirts, and I am going to find them and I will post them to the page.
I actually want to say that Art Mora has bought one as well.
Oh, cool.
So, and I have one. I told you my sad story of it was really, really, really small. So if you do go to buy a Biters t-shirt, if we get the link reposted, make sure you buy it large. Buy 2 sizes bigger than you anticipate you're going to be in, because they're really, really, really small.
Yeah, I find that shopping on the internet, I kind of have to do that anyway.
Well, it's definitely the case with these shirts, but it's a really cool design.
It is. It is. I'm planning on buying one once I find the link. So, yeah, that's really cool. Thank you for purchasing.
And then we had a comment from Art Mora. So I'm getting to that on Facebook. And he said, Madison's got to be dead and things must have gone south for the rest to be on foot when they hijacked Morgan and the new people. That situation with Negan Light got nasty and I'm looking forward to finding out what happened. The writers better have written it to justify Nick's fury. I had a hard time buying Tara's hatred for Dwight. She only knew Denise for a week or two, and Daryl, I'm supposed to believe that he's pissed because of Easy Street, and dog food in the apocalypse is good eating. I mean, if it was you're happy and you know it, clap your hands, I could see him wanting blood.
I know, Easy Street was a pretty catchy tune. I can't be too mad over that one.
Oh my god, you guys. That's so funny.
And that is a really good catch that they were on foot. They didn't even have a vehicle, so...
Yeah, I didn't think about that either. So I really do think that we're seeing the shattered remains of the diamond.
Yeah.
And I'm just hoping that they are wrong about Laura, but I don't know.
I really hope so too. I really hope that Madison is the only one that well, not to say that the other 200 people or whatever that are living in the diamond are,
Yeah, how many people did they say there was? I think they said there was 57 or something that.
57.
But
yeah,
that's a lot of people.
47, and with Naomi it would have been 48 or something like that. Yeah. So awesome.
Well, I don't have anything else to say.
No.
So take it.
Dead.
You're just gonna let you do it.
I was like,